first things I've noticed whenever I get new female clients signing on is that a lot of the feedback is I don't want to do weight training because I build muscle incredibly fast. Especially they tell me that their legs grow incredibly crazily. And I just want to put your mind at ease before we even start to go into the benefits of weight training. When you start to do something new, a new type of training, a new set of sport-specific training, you are going to get an inflammatory response in the muscle, so you're going to retain a little bit more water inside the muscle's going to swell, and because you are new at this, your body fat is still there, and that's still because you haven't been in a calorie deficit for a while, it's going to slowly shrink. So at first you're going to feel like you are actually putting on size, and that is a very temporary state.
One of the problems, or one of the issues we have as coaches when training female clients specifically, is trying to find the optimal plan for their goals. And often with ladies, when they approach me, when we go through the initial assessment and we have to go through their training experience, most of their goals are to lose weight and have a toned physique. By toned, you want tight glutes, tight arms, no sagging skin. So there's a lot of benefits to cardio training, but it's only part of the puzzle. And one of the main pieces of the puzzle, or the backbone of my training, backbone of Steph's training, when approaching most general weight loss clients, is the inclusion of resistance training. I feel it has the most benefits out of the limited time that you've got available to train. And I hope to dispel a couple of the myths of like suddenly bulking up as a female and appearing manly. By avoiding the weight section, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Discussing tone, I mean, Steph, you can give a description of tone.
So this is also often something that we get. Like, I just want to have a toned physique, and there's no specific way to train differently to any other training to get toned. So toned is when your muscle is getting stronger and firm, you're adding lean muscle, and at the same time you're reducing body fat. So when your body fat is gone, you're going to have more tone because you're going to have more firmness. So you'll train exactly the same way as a guy would train. You'll lift weights heavily, and your calorie deficit is going to make sure that the body fat is going down, and that is going to give you that toned physique that you want.
So yeah, just to expand on that a little bit, exactly like what Steph has said, tone is what we call body composition, the relationship between muscle and the fatty tissue. So in order to achieve tone, you need to add or at least have some existing muscle tissue, and you need to reduce your body fat. The level by which you reduce your body fat and the amount that you expose that muscle tissue produces tone. Often what happens, with ladies that tend to overdo cardio and not prioritize weight training, and let's say you've had 20 kilos to lose. You end up losing those 20 kilos, but you end up looking exactly the same as you did when you started, just a smaller version of yourself. So the skin around your glutes or your bum sags, the skin around your arms sag, and things like that. So you don't achieve the look that you were after when you started this journey to improve your health, improve how you look.
So our aim is always recomposition. So it is reducing the body fat and then adding lean mass to a degree where you are sculpting and changing your body shape to look like the way you would like to look.
Yeah. And as a female, if we look at all the research on beginner females, so somebody that is new to training, they would put on an average of between 500 grams to about 1.5 kilograms over a 6-month period as a newbie trainer, so somebody new to weights and everything being in an optimal environment to gain muscle, which you're probably not in because you're probably in a calorie deficit. But 500 grams to 2 kilos of muscle is not a lot to gain. And the amount of health benefits that it encourages far outweighs the fact that you've gained 1 or 2 kilos of body weight, which will soon be nullified by the fat loss, which will come through. With cardio itself, cardio obviously has health benefits, mainly for the cardiovascular system, the heart system, and improving your endurance. But improving your endurance above what the average person needs is not very functional unless you are an endurance athlete. You are somebody that wants to run 5, 10K park runs. If you are that type of individual, prioritizing cardio is obviously the smart thing to do. If you're an individual or a lady looking to simply improve her physique, lose weight and have the bikini body, incorporating a lot more weight training is the right way to go, with using measured cardio to combat your sedentary lifestyle is how I would go about it.
A lot of the time when a person starts training for the first time, they go train, do an hour of weight training with a personal trainer, and then they go and reward themselves with a smoothie from the gym canteen, which is calorie laden. It's often like 600 calories in one little 500 ml drink, and they don't realize that they've just burned about 150 calories but added 600 back. So when they feel like they are gaining weight from the weight training, it's actually just that they are eating too much now to reward themselves for the very hard training that they think they've done.
I think one of the most common comments that I get when somebody starts starts training with me is, you know, I don't do weights because I pack on muscle really, really quickly. It's something that Stephan touched on a little bit earlier. People need to distinguish the difference between the sensation and actual growth. Because in the beginning stages, most of this growth is a sensation of growth. The best analogy that I can think of is twisting your ankle. If you twist your ankle, it immediately swells up. It swells up with fluid, which protects the joint. The muscle works very, very similar, like Steph mentioned a little bit earlier. We know that beginner trainers, people that are new to weight training, the amount of muscle damage that they experience is greater than an experienced athlete 6 months, 8 months down the line. That muscle damage is micro tears within the fiber. Much like twisting your ankle, it's going to rush water to within the muscle, inflame the muscle, and this often happens especially on your bigger body parts like your quads and so on. So this is also just happens to be the area where most women store the bulk of their body fat. So this is a very sensitive area for women and the one area that they want to improve. But it is the stubborn body fat area and where they accumulate the most adipose tissue. So what often happens is this swelling sensation obviously pushes the fat outwards. This will obviously, your clothing is going to feel a lot tighter. You're going to feel like you're adding mass, you're adding all this size to your legs. And then the knee-jerk reaction is to stop leg training. But you're doing yourself a disservice because you will lose that fat that is on your glutes, that are on your quadriceps. Once that fat reduction has come down and the training on the quads, the hands and the glutes starts to show itself, and those two meet, all of a sudden you have this perfect peachy set of glutes, nice shapely hamstrings, a lovely little slight sweep to your quadricep, and you have what we call shape.
Another factor that I quickly want to just touch on, which I often find it's a bit of a fallacy, is that you have to train, especially females, train with light weights and do lots of repetitions, because that is going to give you that toned look. And as I said earlier, the way to get toned and the way to get bulky and the way to get strong is all the same. You're going to train exactly the same way. So lift as heavy as you possibly can. You can't carry your 4 kilogram toddler on your arm, but then go to the gym and try and do bicycles with 2 kilograms. That is not challenging for you. You have to lift a weight that is absolutely challenging for you for 8 to 10 reps. Maybe like the rep ranges doesn't matter that much. You just need to feel, you need to be worked. You know, the muscle needs to be challenged in order for it to want to adapt and change. That's the most important thing. And weight training also has a host of other health benefits, like insulin sensitivity, bone density, all that kind of stuff. Craig, you know a lot about that, so maybe you can just enlighten us a bit.
Yeah, I think, you know, if we take a step away from simply physique, you know, simply fat loss, we can delve a lot deeper into how much calories are burnt, you know, cardio per 60 minutes, HIIT cardio per 60 minutes, weight training. But let's just talk about the health benefits firstly for a female. Women naturally have really, really strong lower bodies. This is just a biological thing due to pregnancy or assumed pregnancy later in life. The ability to develop really strong legs really quickly to carry that extra weight, which happens rather rapidly over a 9-month period. But women are naturally weaker on the upper body. Simply training the upper body, exposing it to resistance training, on a regular basis that it strengthens and adds a lot of functional strength for a lady's upper body, whether it's carrying groceries, as Steph was mentioning earlier, whether it's carrying a toddler or two, all of this becomes easier. The biggest health benefits though is, as a female, you've got to look at the realities, no matter which stage of life you're in, whether you're 20, 28, 38, 48, or whether you're 55 and postmenopausal. One of the things you've got to be really, really aware of as a female is osteoporosis, osteopenia, and as well as you age, if you are overweight, insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes are a reality. Now, by loading the bones with resistance, you strengthen and you increase that bone mineral density.
It's like a compacting effect.
Yeah, compacting. So your bones become less porous. After the age of 25, we generally see a decline in bone mineral density in women, unless they are actively trying to increase their bone mineral density through weight training, through various other resistance-based sports, whether it be through optimal nutrition and calcium. You've got to do everything possible to maintain or increase that bone mineral density, so that when you hit menopause, and all those hormones, progesterone, estrogen, which was keeping your bones healthy, which now disappear, you are in the strongest position as you age to avoid osteoporosis, osteopenia. So that is just one little facet of it. We've got a lot of research on weight training's benefit to insulin sensitivity, to type 2 diabetes, and in improving that. So these are other issues and other reasons to be incorporating some sort of weight training. It doesn't have to be a hardcore gym program like the wonderful gym we have behind us. You might be intimidated by being in the weight training area. It can be CrossFit, it can be some sort of resistance class at the gym. It could be the circuit area where you're calisthenics, where you're using body weight, anything that provides some sort of resistance near your maximal capacity for a certain rep range, whether that be 8 reps or 30 reps, doesn't matter. As long as it is challenging enough, as long as it is harder than what your muscles are used to before, so that you can provide what we call a progressive overload principle, and that will challenge your body to improve. As I said, as a female, your hormonal makeup, the fact that your testosterone is low, and estrogen and progesterone being your dominant hormones, you are not as likely to pack on mass like guys do. So this suddenly waking up in 2 or 3 weeks' time and having a manly physique just simply doesn't exist. The ones that do have big physiques as a female have been doing this for years and years, and their nutrition has been aimed at purely muscle gain. Some even use performance enhancing drugs, male hormones, to achieve that level of muscular development. It is not the norm. It is not what's going to happen after 2, 3, 6, 8 weeks of training. Even a year, 2 years of training. You are simply not going to suddenly appear masculine. So
that's a 10, 15 year process. Even for a guy, that big guy that you see in your gym, that is not a 2, 3 year journey. That guy has probably been doing it for 10, 15 years to get really big and bulky, and he's got approximately 70 times the testosterone that you as a female have. So you have to understand that it's simply impossible for you to have the mindset of I'm gonna just pack on muscle. It's not a possibility. Yeah. Greg, quickly, the cardio and weight training, the differences. So calories burnt inside that hour?
Yeah. The calories burnt with cardio, let's take a typical session of about an hour. Whether you're doing less cardio whether you're doing resistance training in the form of weight training, or whether you are doing HIIT style cardio, which is kind of like a crossover, because weight training is similar to HIIT training, but it's not quite the same. But the calorie burn over an hour period of time is very, very similar. Now some will say to me, well, HIIT training burns 6 calories per minute, and this cardio only burns 3 calories per minute. It's subjective. At that rate at which you're doing HIIT cardio, 30, 40 seconds, followed by 45 seconds to 2 minutes of recovery mode, over the period of an hour, contextually, you are burning the same calories as somebody who had done less cardio, steady state for an hour without those breaks in between. On a similar basis, we've got the same with weight training. So let's say for the average female, she burns 250, 300 calories for an hour session. The cardio's benefits start and stop in the session. So in other words, there's nothing further. Once your heart rate comes back down to normal, there is no further calorie burn from that. The rebuilding and recovery of damaged muscle tissue and then thickening muscle tissue to enhance what we call hypertrophy is a costly process for the body. So you do burn more calories in the 24 to 72 hours post weight training workout. So as I say, the cardio benefits end when cardio ends. The benefits to weight training tend to extend overnight and into the next day as you recover. It's a minor benefit though. I'm not going to say, well, if you do weight training, all of a sudden you're burning 300 calories during a workout and 400 calories recovering. That's simply not true. You're probably burning 300 calories in the workout and maybe 100, 150 on the recovery process, depending on the demands of the workout. But there is that added benefit. And then, as we discussed earlier, we've got all the other benefits to bone mineral density. You should really be taking seriously. Insulin resistance, you should really be taking seriously. Type 2 diabetes, you should really be taking seriously and doing everything possible. And one of that is maintaining a healthy body weight. Second is good regular exercise. Most of us don't have a lot of time. So whether you've got 2 times a week or 3 times a week and you've got an hour set aside, prioritize weight training is usually my suggestion.
In closing from my side, just your adaptation to cardio is quite rapid. So your body wants to get good at something, and if you do a 40-minute run every day, that's not progressive. You're going to always kind of like get the same benefit from that 40 minutes. Whereas weight training, because it's progressive in nature, you can lift heavier every time. You're going to keep progressing, and that's something to also keep in mind when you decide between choosing cardio or weight training. That small amount of time that you have left between looking after the kids and doing your full-time career and all sorts of stuff, you just need to think of what is going to have the most benefits and throw your time into that.
Yeah, I mean, just to expand on that, as Steph, quite rightly said, is you just have to take an endurance athlete. If you start running, you can barely do a kilometer. It's more of a wog. You run for a few steps and you walk. And then as you progress, you get fitter and fitter and fitter. That's the body becoming more efficient. So in other words, if you had a cardio session of an hour that burnt 350 calories, 500 calories, let's use 500 calories as a benchmark, and you did an hour session, in 2 weeks' time, that same hour session at that same intensity level is going to be burning 400 calories, 380.
So your watch will probably also be wrong, Craig.
And your watch will probably be wrong because your body's becoming more efficient. With weight training, as Steph quite rightly said, is as you get stronger, you continually add heavier and heavier weights. So there's this constant state of progressive overload. With cardio, you either need to increase the intensity, which can hammer your recovery ability, or you have to increase the duration to maintain that same calorie burn. And it's not to say that cardio isn't a necessary part of somebody's training setup. You have to look at your life in context. If you are a sedentary person and you possibly do 2,500 steps per day. Introducing some sort of formal cardio to bring those daily steps up closer to 8 or 10,000 might be a good idea. However, if you're the type of person, maybe you're a mom and you're on your feet all day, maybe you're a personal trainer, you're racking up 12, 16,000 steps a day. Adding in cardio as a fat loss tool is kind of pointless, it's a waste of your time. To close it off, it's not an if or or. We try to encourage you to look at training differently, look at your goals appropriately, and look at what is the best tools that can be used to achieve my goals. If you are worried about form, highly suggest hiring a personal trainer at your local gym, couple of sessions, get your form right, get confident in that area. Don't be intimidated by that area. Nobody else in that area cares about you. They're all looking at themselves in the mirror and their own proper form. So don't be intimidated by that area. Look at the context of your life, okay? Do you have a sedentary job? Do you need to bring up your cardio ability? Do you need to bring it up for any other reason? Park runs, any other sporting endeavors? Then obviously a higher specificity to that might be in order. But for the general person looking to lose weight, stay healthy, a mix of resistance training as your backbone with supplementary cardio and obviously good nutrition, because that's where it all comes from, is probably the best advice that I can give.